So if you're serious about getting lean, I think your goal should be 15% body fat, and in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why. I'm going to make the case for why I believe 15% body fat to be the perfect goal body fat percentage for most men. And I've done it all. I've been fat, I've been skinny fat, and now I spent the last 14 years consistently between 10 to 15% body fat. So this isn't just theory. I've lived it, and I've also coached hundreds of entrepreneurs and very busy men who've also gotten lean. So my thoughts on this are based on what works in practice for those who don't want to live like bodybuilders. This is for people who want to have a lean, healthy physique long term, and those who seek balance in life and don't want the extremes. So the first reason why I think 15% body fat makes the most sense is because it's realistic and attainable. Let me give you an example. Let's say Joe is currently at 220 pounds, about 100 kilos, at 30% body fat. How long do you think it would take him to get to 15% body fat? Well, let's do the math. If we strip away his body fat, so we take 220 minus 30%, we arrive at 154 pounds or 70 kilos of lean mass. Now, based on that lean mass, if we add back 15% body fat, that would put Joe around 182 pounds or 82.5 kilos. So if Joe started at 220 pounds or 100 kilos at 30% body fat, he'd have to lose about 38 pounds or 17 kilos to get to 15% body fat. And that's if Joe only maintains the muscle mass he has now. Actually, most beginner and intermediate lifters can expect to gain a little bit of muscle while losing body fat. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's easy to lose 38 pounds, but it's also very doable. In my opinion, if you focus, you can get this done in 6 months. You clean up your diet, you remove alcohol, you start hitting the gym 3 to 4 times a week, you track your macros, you plan ahead what you're gonna eat, and you walk 8 to 10,000 steps per day. Of course, you can try to go there faster and reduce calories even more, but I'm giving you realistic numbers for what's an incredible transformation. How many people do you know who went from 30% to 15% body fat at all, let alone in 6 months? It's a huge accomplishment, and the time is going to go by anyway. The ultimate goal is consistency. Even if it took you a whole year to get there, it's still 100% worth it. And the thing is, body fat tends to come off easier until about 15% body fat, and that's what makes this goal more attainable. Your body isn't fighting back as much. So while it may take you 6 months to go from 30% to 15%, it could take you another 4 months to go from 15% down to 10% body fat, if you get there at all. This is also why with clients, I often decide to maintain at 15% body fat and make that their new baseline. Because if you started your diet at a very high body fat percentage, you build up a significant amount of diet fatigue by the time you hit 15%. Hunger increases as calories decrease. You might start feeling more stressed out because you've been in a calorie deficit for so long. Things aren't progressing well in the gym. So after dieting for 5 to 6 months, it's smart to take a diet break and do a calorie maintenance phase. Especially if you're like the guys I work with who have very demanding jobs or businesses, many have kids or older parents to take care of, so time and energy are already limited. So it's not a good idea just to keep pushing until the wheels fall off. So if your goal is to eventually get under 15% body fat, aside from hitting the like button on my videos, I would recommend that you maintain 15% for at least half the time it took you to get there. So if it took 6 months to get there, maintain 15% for at least 3 months before trying to go any lower. Now, the second reason why I believe 15% body fat is the right goal for you is because it's the quote-unquote sweet spot of size and leanness for naturals. There's an old saying that I used to hear a lot when I started my fitness journey, which is you can be big, you can be shredded, you can be natural, but you only get to pick 2 of those. And from my personal experience, I found this to be true. It is very difficult to fill out a shirt and look very big at 10% body fat as a natural. At 5'10", 178 centimeters, I'm usually around 172, 174 pounds, so 78, 79 kilos at 10% body fat. And at that level, I'd mostly be wearing S-size shirts, and it's not easy to quote-unquote look like I lift. Now, without the shirt, at the beach or right after a workout, I do look ripped and jacked. But in day-to-day life, I think at 15% body fat, around 185 pounds or 84 kilos, with an M-size shirt, I look much better. And what I realized over the years that about 15% body fat is when you start seeing these diminishing returns in how you look. A lot of people would say they even prefer the bulkier physique, even though it's not as lean. And I think 15% body fat looks great when you have a decent amount of muscle, whether you have a shirt on or not. You're still able to see a solid 4-pack, still able to retain some really good size in your arms and your shoulders. And if you go very low body fat, it also tends to show in your face, which some people don't like. So it's really about finding balance, and it's about personal preference. I think 15% ticks the box of being reasonably lean, being very healthy, having good strength levels, and decent size to back it up. Now, the third reason, and honestly the most important one for being at 15% body fat, is that it's sustainable all year round. One thing is getting lean, a whole different ballgame is staying lean and making it a lifestyle long term. And there aren't many people who can maintain 10% body fat all year round. Even fitness influencers who are in their early 20s whose whole life revolves around the gym and who've picked the right parents still struggle with that and often end up on TRT and all kinds of stuff trying to keep up. And it makes sense. First, it affects your hormones. Ghrelin, your hunger hormone, is increased. Leptin, your satiety hormone, is decreased because it's produced by your fat cells. Less fat you have, the fewer leptin is produced. Then there's testosterone, which goes down when you're staying too lean. And then it's about day-to-day practical things. You can maintain a 15% body fat without tracking every gram of your food. You get to eat out a few times per week without worrying because you have more calories at your disposal. You have more flexibility when you're traveling. And all of this is to say that it makes sense to stay at 15% body fat as your base and then occasionally go lower for something like a vacation if you want to. Another thing I've noticed personally is that my energy levels are much better at 15% body fat, which makes me a lot more productive and focused with work. And then there's recovery and progress in the gym, which is significantly worse at 10% body fat for most people compared to being at 15%. And that's the hidden opportunity cost of staying too lean that nobody talks about. You're limiting your muscle growth and your strength potential. And this is not a good idea, especially if you're older and if you haven't built your muscular base yet. Your priority should be to get reasonably lean to be healthy and then focus all your effort on gaining muscle and strength for long-term health and longevity. Staying too lean will cripple your progress. So with all things considered, I think 15% body fat is a great balance of health, body composition, aesthetics, and sustainability. So this is a great goal to have and one you should be very proud of achieving when you get there. By the way, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button below, notifications with the bell icon. Also, if you're interested in coaching and you want me to help you get to 15% body fat, details for coaching are in the description below, so check those out, and I'm gonna see you in my next video.